Hello everyone, watch this review here with a look at Klaw from Wave 1 from Hasbro's rebooted Marvel Legends line. Well, these figures have been out for a while. My local Toys R Us never got them in, so as luck would have it, Target had them in today, so I ended up paying a little bit less for this guy. Now, Klaw was probably one of the characters that I was most looking forward to this wave, which makes me a little bit on the weird side, considering, he's not as popular of a character as some of the other ones, but I just didn't think they'd ever make one in the 6-inch scale, and while I was sort of more drawn to the other characters originally, kind of the one that sort of most grabbed me by the end. Packaging wise, really awesome looking art. I like the little boxes and stuff with the little thick highlights on the outside. Very comic bookish, really neat style. Then you have a really large character burst on the top, including a profile of the character's head. It's the same art from the back of the package, except for that has this neat backdrop to it. Now, the one sort of criticism I do have is on the side here, you'll notice that they have some comic panels of it's the same for all of them. It's Thor, Steve Rogers, and Constrictor, and that's sort of where my complaint lies, considering that during the previous Hasbro releases they had character-specific strips on the side. I guess it's probably not a huge deal or anything. I mean, an element like that probably appeals more towards the mint-on-card collector, although I obviously do save some of the box, like the card. The rest of it usually does end up getting tossed. As for the rest of the wave, I'm not sure if I'll be assembling Terrax. I assume I probably will, but not right away. Because there are several characters I do like, figure I might as well cave and buy the rest, but Klaw, Constrictor, the Orange Ghost Rider, Hope were in stores today. The Hope had defects, so I kind of passed in that. The Constrictor, which I was kind of lukewarm on, I saw him in stores. He looks amazing. He looks really great in person, like all the videos and photos I see of him. The only issue was he had like 2 major paint defects, and when you have a paint defect of blue and yellow, it really sticks out. The head sculpt on this guy is amazing, though. I know I've said amazing a few times now, but screw it, it is. The orange I don't care about. I really wanted the blue, though. That's probably the one I most want from this wave, other than Klaw. Thor, they didn't have in either. I probably might pick up, I don't know. I have the same costume as Marvel Select, so kind of iffy. I mean, the only characters I kind of don't so much like this wave are the Steve Rogers. He doesn't look that great. I've seen a few reviews for him. Kind of whatever. The Extremis Iron Man, who I guess is a little on the small side, but the bigger thing is I've heard rumors that he's going to be redone in an Iron Man spin-off line. If that's the case, I'm kind of thinking, or kind of hoping, that if they do that, they'll have alternate hands for him, because I don't like the one closed, one open. I'd rather see both opens. But I might cave and just pick him up now anyway, or from this wave specifically. But yeah, neat box art. I do miss when they used to have the little bios and stuff, but there is a definite style thing going on here with the little catch thing with the "What madness drives this genius who turned his body into living sound?" So, I mean, I guess it does kind of make up for it. But hold on a second, I'll get my pack. Now, before I go any further, I should just point out that the packaging is designed in such a way that if you want to save it and put the figure back in, you can do so relatively easy. The bottom of the pack has this little sort of perforated edge if you want to cut it, but alternatively it's also got this other portion which is kind of taped on. The other sides also all use tape, so you can just pull up these 3 sides, pull up the blister, get the figure out, and then put everything back if you wanted to. I mean, I probably won't display them in pack, but the fact that you have that option is always a little nice. Now, the figure comes with 2 things, no real accessories to speak of. The first of which is a little Tales of Terrax thing, which was advertised in the box. This one features Victor Von Doom. You know, the irony that they're including a character story for something completely unrelated to the figure that it comes with, while the character slash figure here has nothing about himself in the box, is not entirely lost on me. But it just goes to sort of prove that there's no real theme to this wave. They just picked up a random hodgepodge of figures and tossed it in. You don't really have the same connection that, a lot of, say, I don't know, the DC Universe Classics have been doing, where the waves have actual themes, but we do have instructions on how to put Terrax together in case, it's a little bit difficult for people. I also like the fact that it comes with a little checklist here, too, just in case you lose track. The other thing he comes with is the left leg of Terrax, which, as others pointed out, has a rather incredible foot pivot. Whee, that's insane, right? No, that's not insane. What's insane is having foot pivot on this, and then on the figure, we get no foot pivot at all. Frankly, that should be one of the new standards of the Marvel Legends line. Every figure needs to have foot pivot. I mean, given that they're trying to rebrand, relaunch, and all that, they really should try to sort of go for the higher quality of standard. And that's actually the other thing. Why they're doing this is the all-new Marvel Legends line. It's completely and grossly inappropriate to, say, rebrand and to recycle old sculpts and then toss them in the line and pass them off as being new things. Some people have pointed out that the sculpt used for the Steve Rogers is actually a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent that was previously released, so yeah, it's not quite the all-new Marvel Legends here, folks. I can't remember if this is supposed to also be a recycled sculpt or anything, but I could believe it if somebody told me, just because it's got some of the older jointing. These old ankles, which should pivot, but they don't. Otherwise, a lot of people did criticize the fact that he has a nose, which he's not depicted as having, I guess on the box art or comics or what have you. I've never really observed that all that closely, but if you look at the Marvel Universe figure, you'll notice that they didn't give him a nose, so it's kind of curious that they popped a nose in this one. By the way, I'm just extremely happy that we have a 6-inch Klaw. Back when I picked up the 3 3/4-inch Marvel Universe one from the Secret Wars 2-packs, I commented that I was buying him because I didn't think we'd ever get a 6-inch Klaw, and look, now we have one, and he's pretty decent. Although paint-wise, I have to admit that I like the body wash and stuff here a little bit more. Plus he's got more of a red as opposed to the sort of brighter red slash almost pink on this guy. But, real supervillains, they wear pink. It's toughness. Otherwise, I also like the fact that you have two completely radically different faces on these guys, which is really neat. Because again, he's kind of an underappreciated villain. Sort of a low B-list, high C-lister. He does give hope that eventually we'll get a Whirlwind, which I would love to see. But obviously the Marvel Legend version just blows this one out of the water in terms of articulation. Also a much nicer apparatus on the right arm there. Though you'll notice that they did opt for a much deeper paint wash on the Marvel Universe one. This one doesn't have a ton of paint at all. It's just a blank silver. But hey, it's still pretty cool. Now, because he doesn't have the foot pivot, there are some balancing issues, but you can kind of get around it. Just because it's got the rotation, it's got, the usual sort of motion. And you probably won't pose him in a ton of really crazy poses either. Just trying to think of another word for pose, because I just said pose, but yeah, nothing came to me. Other than that, he also has the sort of crappy blind ball here that I'm not too fond of, where it only moves like this, and then you have to sort of rotate the ball around to get it to go someplace else. Never really liked that. Kind of annoyed me. Actually, let's just do a quick run through of articulation before I forget. At the wrist, we have a ball and socket, rotation, forward, back, all the good stuff. You'll notice that this is an open hand, which I think sort of works with the character. Double pin joint here at the wrist, elbow. You have rotation at the bicep, ball jointed shoulder, and thanks to these really tiny muscles and stuff, he does get a lot more movement in front of his body. Who needs big muscles anyway? They're overrated. Head has a lot of upward motion, pretty impressive amount. Some amount of downward motion. Then of course it can kind of get some sort of weird stances going to the side as a result, which is neat. Ab crunch, rotation, again line, then rotation at the upper thigh, double pin at knee, and ankle has rotation up down, sort of smooth joint there. Alright, as I was going to say, well actually one more thing, there's no rotation on the actual sonic device thingy. You would assume that there would be, but there's not. Not that it entirely matters, because it looks the same going all around, so there's no practical purpose to having it rotate anyway, but yeah. I was going to say, there's really no paint on this guy, in terms of, really, it's just solid colors, really bright colors as well. It actually reminds me greatly of, say, on just really old comics where you'd have these characters, there wouldn't be a lot of depth or anything to their color. You'd go for more vibrant characters as well, just to make them memorable. Which, I guess is neat. The head sculpt again, really cool looking. It looks like they sculpted in that one portion of the mouth, in addition to painting it, but it's hard to tell. And of course the eyes have a silver inlay with the black inlay with the silver pupils or whatever, which is cool. Though I'd kind of worry about paint defects there, so probably something you want to check out before you buy one. The other thing too, which sort of I guess is reminiscent of older comics and stuff, is just the way that they handled the muscular structure, where it's a lot of really visible sort of blocky lines and stuff. It's really deep cuts. I mean, the symmetry and stuff just looks a little wonky in places. I don't know how else to describe it. And I guess while the figure does have some issues, again, it's still pretty decent, and I'm just really happy to have this character, especially given that he's a lesser known one. Villains do get historically underrepresented in figure lines, especially considering that there are a good 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 villains to every hero out there. Although, some do share them. Oh, and by the way, in case you guys are never heard of the character, I feel obliged to give a little backstory. If only to clarify why a character named Klaw happens to have a sonic emitter device on his arm instead of, say, a good old-fashioned origin story where an arm gets chopped off and replaced by a claw. And that is because the character's name is actually Ulysses Klaw. Yeah, I would fall over too. I mean, with a name like that, you think he's almost destined to get his arm chopped off in some hilarious but tragic accident and then turn to a life of crime, but no. Instead, he was a scientist who experimented with vibranium, which is one of the millions of completely made-up bullcrap Marvel metals in the universe there. Right along the lines of carbonadium and adamantium and There's a ton of them. But it's a medal unique to the nation of, I think it's Wakanda. I'm sure there are other deposits as well, because I don't think that was probably the first appearance of it. And it has some effects with sound, durability and stuff, and while doing an experiment, he's turned into living sound, and he manifests from this device here, I guess. He's actually appeared a few times on the new animated series, the World's Avengers, the World's Earth's Mightiest Heroes or something, so that might be why he ended up getting a figure, just from the increased notoriety, and if that's the case, hopefully Whirlwind will as well, because Whirlwind has made a few appearances on it. But I think one of those appearances, it wasn't even Whirlwind, it was actually the Sorceress, using the spoilers. But yeah, all around a pretty decent figure. Could it be better? I mean, this doesn't really scream new Marvel Legends to me, especially given the fact it doesn't have foot pivot, which, given that they're charging more than they were previously, given that they're launching this as a brand new line, but most importantly, given that Toy Biz did footer pivot back in 2002, 2001, somewhere around there. Foot pivot does sort of need to be on these. And I think they actually aren't even doing that for like Wave 2 for some of them, which again kind of sucks. Also, I don't get what's up with the sort of intertwined fingers there, but I guess it's kind of neat because it gives the hand more personality and characteristic than just having it just be like this. You can also see that they sculpted some detail there, and you can see some knuckles and stuff, which is cool. But yeah, I mean, all around a pretty decent figure. I'd say that's definitely one of the, well, I don't know if I could say it's one of the nicer ones from the wave, because I don't really own the wave yet, but from the ones that I've seen, or ones I was excited for, this guy definitely topped that list. Although, granted, there are lots of other nice ones in this wave, but I don't know, it doesn't seem like the lines could really pick up till at least next wave, because that's when a lot of the characters I'm more interested in come out, and Wave 3 also looks to be pretty good. But yeah, this has been a look at the revamped Marvel Legends line, the Hasbro 2.0 Marvel Legends, the Klaw. Pretty decent figure. If you're not buying anything else, I still might recommend him just because he is a villain and can't have too many of those. Otherwise, you do need him to get a leg, and he's not going to be able to stand without it. So yeah, until next time, folks.